If COVID-19 wasn't dominating the news right now, what would be some of the biggest stories be right now? More common than you think. How do you pass really shitty legislation that's basically nothing more than a power grab? Give it a wonderful sounding name like anti-child porn law or the Patriot Act. Then come out and say, this bill intends this, or intends to achieve that. Don't talk about what the actual bill is or says, only what the intentions are, and make it sound wonderful. Third step is when someone argues against it, you say what, you hate children? You don't want to stop child porn? You don't like patriotism? Don't you want to get rid of terrorists and feel safe? Whenever you hear a politician talking about intentions, be very skeptical, and it's probably a good idea to find out what the legislation actually says. Edit. Wow, thank you for the silver and all the responses. This really blew up more than I expected. Even though I haven't responded, I agree with many comments. Thanks. Probably the oil price war actually. Saudi Arabia is trying to force the Russians into cutting production, since they won't play ball with OPEC+, and US shale might pay the prices we need. High cost for this entire industry to function. I work in the oil industry. This is huge right now. It's honestly just about the same as the coronavirus for us. Powers getting cuts, people losing their jobs, etc. All due to oil price and not coronavirus. US shale is paying the price. Even without the virus, it would kill our economy. Yes, it did start before coronavirus, but the impact happened at the same time. It's amazing to me, the simple fact that this is impossible to implement. But that's not enough to stop them. It's one of the most disruptive acts I have ever seen. Bunch of old dumb people making rules without even remotely understanding the implications. Right, as soon as someone like Apple or Amazon gets hacked and loses millions or billions from a leaked iPhone schematic or something, this law would stricken down immediately with a huge settlement from the government. This not only smaller companies and users, but will also throw away millions of tax dollars. All because some old fucks don't know how the internet works. As someone interested in spirituality and ancient philosophies, I just want to offer a different take on this whole thing. The modern take on the apocalypse is everything goes to shit, which is not what the original definition meant. The word apocalypse literally means unveiling, and I think that, even though we are seeing a quick short-term decline, after these trials are over we could very well see humanity rebound from the suffering and leave this age of confusion, hypocrisy, lies, anger, and authoritarianism, and enter an age of truth, love, light, compassion, and understanding. After the Black Plague, Europe saw the death of feudalism and the birth of a free peasantry, and eventually the Renaissance. Very good things can happen after very hard and painful things have happened. This has shown to be the case countless times in history. And this will not be anywhere near that bad as far as disease outbreaks go. If it's any consolation, I'm saying this as a person with a degree in biology. I'm not trying to spout superstition, but to instead spread an outlook that I feel is extremely valuable in today's day and age. I would hope the locusts plaguing East Africa, the Middle East, and the Indian subcontinent. It's describing some swarms as being the size of New York, and they are eating their harvest, threatening widespread famine. I think without coronavirus we would mobilize to try to control this population the way we did for Zika carrying mosquitoes in the Americas. Edit. This NPR article describes how in 2018 an unfortunate series of cyclones from the Indian Ocean hit an extremely remote area of the Arabian Peninsula known as the Empty Quarter. This produced extraordinary rain and gave them what they needed to breed. Because a second cyclone hit occurred during their breeding cycle, instead of drying out and having most of their population die out in the desert, the population exploded. In favorable conditions they can multiply by 400x their population every 6 months. Then they mass migrated. Also, for clarity, a swarm was identified as 3 times the size of New York City. One of the main routes into downtown Seattle, the West Seattle Bridge, was closed yesterday because cracks in support beams made it structurally unsound. It will take several months to fix and will not reopen until it's done. This would normally destroy the entire Seattle commute, but it happened right now, so it's barely even a blip on the local news. Real talk, this was probably the best possible time for this to happen. The fact that there were like 260,000 people participating, and that is the worst part. 260,000. Someone said that was the number of views, whereas the actual number of people was 10k to 30k. That's still hellish, and I still want to do something about it, but I do prefer factual numbers, even when it's messed up stuff. I don't want to lose more faith in my fellow man. The Enthrum sex crime case in Korea. Please read about it if you can. It's absolutely horrifying. Edit. Wow, did not expect this many responses. First time I've ever received so many replies. I see that some of you want to know more details, so I will leave a link to a blog post that someone posted on Naver. It's detailed summary of what it's all about. But please do not read if you can't handle graphic content. It's very violent and sexual content, and I don't want to trigger anyone. Read with a strong heart. Egypt and Ethiopia are close to going toward due to Ethiopia building a dam on the Nile River. Ethiopia is diverting some water and limiting water flow to Egypt. The Ethiopian government is refusing to honor previous agreements made that detail the rate at which they will fill the lake behind their dam, and they refuse to negotiate any further with the Egyptians. Does Ethiopia have the military strength to take on Egypt? I don't know much about Ethiopian military, but Egypt gets over $1 billion a year in military aid from the USA and have the largest standing army on the continent. Edit. Wow, this got a lot of attention. To clarify, I was talking hypothetically. As some good commenters have pointed out, an actual ground conflict between the two seems unlikely, as Egypt would have to either get the permission of Sudan and Sudan to move troops through their nations, or would have to invade them as well. Thanks for all the great responses. Enthrum case in Korea. Telegram porno sexual slavery ring with 74 victims including underage girls. The Telegram groups has estimated at least 10 to 30,000 subscribers. The Enthrum perpetrators are accused of luring victims, including minors, into sending sexually explicit photos and videos. In some cases, this escalated to using blackmail to force victims into increasingly violent acts, including sexual assault. Absolutely disgusting. I'm surprised that this news didn't get bigger internationally. Edit. Reporters at Cookman Ilbo observed about 25,000 users across 30 such chat rooms. That all the millions of dollars we raised for the people affected by the bushfires in Australia has maybe vanished. I've spoken to a few people whose houses burnt down, and they haven't seen a cent. Where did the money raised go, I wonder? The money that went to reputable organizations will still be handed out for a while. Those orgs know that the need lasts a lot longer than the news spotlight and public attention. Even worse for the tourist towns that are now not getting any traffic over Easter, and likely until at least summer. It's fucking stupid. What I've heard is that companies that continue to use end-to-end encryption will be stripped of their Section 230 protections. They will then be responsible for any illegal shit found on their platform, which will really fuck up every social networking platform, because there's gonna be illegal shit on there. Companies that comply and remove their E2E encryption will keep their Section 230 protections, but essentially open up their platform to a host of security vulnerabilities. As a cybersecurity enthusiast, I should point out that a ton of its supporters seem very uninformed on the benefits of E2E encryption. It's a stupid idea. Edit. For those wondering why the government is even considering this, it's because the bill supporters claim it will bring child predators to justice. It's a stupid idea that won't work, and I honestly don't see how anyone with the slightest bit of clarity could think otherwise. The number of people logging into Pornhub has skyrocketed worldwide. Last I saw it was up like 68% in Spain alone. Now we know why there's been a run on toilet paper and paper towels. No run on condoms that I've heard of though. So either everyone's taking this whole self-isolation stuff seriously, or we are having a baby boom in the next 9 to 12 months. I absolutely expect a baby boom. IDK, why anybody would do that on purpose right now. I got pregnant on January 31st, and I feel like I have to explain myself why I'm bringing a child into this situation. Tom Brady now plays for Tampa Bay. Tony Ferguson is finally gonna fight Khabib Nurmagomedov. That last one is actually the biggest kick in the face as far as I'm concerned. These two have never fought. Khabib is 28-0. Tony hasn't lost a fight in 8 years. They've been scheduled to fight each other 4 other times. Some crazy shit has happened, and the fight was called off. So they finally schedule it for a 5th time and a global pandemic breaks out, and is now in danger of cancelling their fight a 5th time. It's huge news. Dana says the fight is still on. But if things get really bad in the US over the next few weeks, nobody will give a shit anyway. Khabib vs Tony is quickly turning into a more accursed UFC version of Floyd Mayweather not fighting Manny Pacquiao for too long. I'm scared because the smart people are the ones who will try to social distance and may not vote, but the stupid people won't be scared of COVID and will go vote. I think you know what that means. The fact that a second person has been cured of HIV. I don't think it would necessarily dominate the news, but I definitely feel it should be up there as it is definitely an interesting thing due to the facts the patient had cancer and their stem cell treatment not only stopped their cancer, but the HIV as well in the process. Stories like these sound almost fairy tale like, so when they do happen it feels like they should get more credit. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, hit like. If you would like to see more, feel free to subscribe.